What is happening, guys? We are back with another Real Talk episode, and today I want to talk to you guys about the tactical elitist. Now, a lot of these topics I cover on the channel, they kind of overlap in some ways, and so this is kind of overlapping with the toxic gun community topic that we talked about in an older video. But the tactical elitist is a special breed of individual because we all know a tactical elitist. They're always in the comment section, armchair operating, talking about how shitty you are or how crappy your rifle is or the pistol that you chose was, and they're just literally bonded so tightly with the identity of the company that they most support. And we've all been guilty of this. So I said we all have a little bit of a tactical elitist in us because, again, when I first started, I was starting with Palmetto State uppers, Aero Precision lowers, and just kind of building my own stuff. And then as I got deeper and deeper into it, I low key, slid down that path a little bit, and I admit it. Like, that's the first step to recovery, is admitting you have a problem. And myself included, with probably most of you guys, will see a poverty pony lower and be like, oh man, like maybe you should upgrade that. But in reality, we've talked about this time and time again. When you're paying for a higher end company, a higher end manufacturer, really what you're paying for is quality control. So if you go out and you shoot your rifles and they work, most of the time those rifles are made to the same standards with the same materials. I won't say maybe not to the same standards, because quality control, that's a standard in the manufacturing process, obviously, but they're made with the same materials. It's all 70, 75 T6 aluminum lower, right? So what's the difference? But we all have a little tactical elitist in us, and the reason I wanted to bring this up is because these types of characters, and when we're exhibiting this type of behavior, can really discourage somebody who is just getting into firearms, or who has a gun that they're maybe not super proud of, or it's not the coolest, most Gucci thing ever, and they'll be ashamed of like showing it, or they'll like automatically put themselves down when they show up to the range and I bust out whatever I'm busting out, because this is a huge passion of mine. I invest a lot of my time, energy, and money into this thing. But it's not just me. Like, if I bust out a HK MR556, which is a very expensive rifle, and the guy next to me just like, oh, this is just a piece of shit Aero Precision, Palmetto State, whatever it is, like insert derogatory, because guys will put their own gear down. And I really want to try to encourage us as a community, and especially my viewers, because you guys are the ones I care about, to not be that guy that makes people feel like they have to put their own shit down, because we all know what it's like, when you first start out, or if you don't have the income to spend on an LMT or a Knights or whatever it is, even the guys, there's some of the more affordable options that are kind of middle of the road. It doesn't really matter what the tool is, as long as the tool is reliable within reason, right? As long as it's really about the skill set that you have. And that's the direction I'm trying to take the channel. I'm trying to stop talking so much about gear, which is almost impossible as a YouTube gun reviewer, because this is what I do here. I review guns and optics and parts and stuff. But I do want to make a huge effort this year in my physical fitness, my mental fitness, as well as just training and taking training courses from reputable guys who've actually had real world combat experience, which I do not have. So, and that's another thing. Tactical elitists will say, we'll talk crap on any YouTuber who doesn't have XYZ certifications or XYZ, history in the Army. If I've never, one of the most offensive comments to me, because it was true, was that this guy was trying to discredit me in the comment section, and here I am giving him a shout out. So I guess he got what he wanted. But he said this guy has less combat experience than Kyle Rittenhouse, and I know that's not exactly on the topic of the tactical elitist, but that was something that hit home to me. But it's like, dude, it's okay to train. Like, it's okay to not have killed anybody. Like, that's okay. Like, I'm not putting down anyone who's done that job. Like, God bless our tier 1 operators and anyone who's been in the military. God bless them. I'm so grateful for those guys. But it doesn't mean that you as a civilian cannot train. And with these tactical elitists, anytime somebody is proud of what they have and they want to, talk about it, or they want to reach out to the community, a lot of the times they just get shit on, man. And you could see it on Reddit, which I advise everybody just stay off Reddit for your own mental health. But there's like threads on Reddit, whatever you call them, topics on Reddit, where it's like, just I don't know how it's not a full clone, or like this is clone-ish enough, and like the clone community is a whole different ballgame. Those guys are really deep into it, but I just don't want to have anybody who is trying to improve themselves, trying to ask questions, or trying to learn new skills feel like they have to be embarrassed about what they have, because at the end of the day, it's not about the tool, it's about the warrior. So it's like, what is your mental state? Are you mentally preparing yourself for what you may need to do. That's something I'm working on this year as well, guys. I'm not totally not perfect, and a lot of the topics I bring up are because I've actually encountered them, or I've given into that weakness and actually participated in some of these things in the past. And it's like, dude, I don't care what kind of pistol you have. I don't care what kind of rifle you have. If you're fighting beside me, I want to know what you can do with that thing, And it's like, again, I've seen plenty of poverty ponies and plenty of cheaper rifles. I hate even using that term because it is, again, derogatory term for anyone who's running an Anderson lower. But it's like I've seen a lot of those guns, and you could say there's a bit of a correlation. But let me just finish that last thought. There's a lot of those guns that run fine. They operate just fine. They're accurate. They're reliable. And that's what really matters is the guy using it and what he can do with it, whether he knows his holds, whether he's in enough physical shape to, carry a plate carrier, and so on and so forth. But I've seen oh man, I lost my thought now. Oh yeah, you could say that there is a correlation between cheaper rifles and like boomers or individuals who don't really train, or like, yeah, I got this Bear Creek arsenal, not to call it Bear Creek, but like I have a lot of friends and family myself who have guns that are, more on the cheaper, more like economic side, I guess is a nicer way to say it, that just don't take their training seriously whatsoever. So you can kind of have somewhat of a correlation between somebody who has a nicer setup, like a BCM or Sons of Liberty or something like that, and someone who takes their training more seriously. But I don't want, again, I don't want to discourage people who have regular rifles like a AR-15. Just because it didn't cost as much as your rifle cost does not mean it's not as good, or doesn't mean that that guy would lose in a gunfight to you. That has nothing to do with it, really. It's all about your skill and how proficient you are with that platform, with that caliber, with that optic. Do you know your holds? Do you know what your drop is at 400 yards? Things like that are what really matter. So, and the reason I brought this up is because I have a good friend of mine, who's recently getting into firearms, and he just recently, I helped him kit out his Springfield Saint. That's a cheaper, more affordable rifle, but he wasn't in love with it, and he asked me what he could do to upgrade it. And so I, pulled off the front sight post, threw a Geisley rail on there, low profile gas block. We put a radian selector in it. We got him an EOTech versus the Chinesium optic he was running beforehand, and I believe that's the extent of the upgrades. And then also a weapon light, because that is something that you really need. But so he has a more capable fighting rifle now. And this same individual was texting his uncle, and we'll just call him Uncle Kyle, okay? Uncle Kyle, and he asked Uncle Kyle, or I guess Uncle Kyle and him were talking about him getting his first pistol. And I'm going to read you from this text message, because this is the kind of tribal behavior that is like so toxic in the gun community, and it's actually hilarious as well. So he says, I think I'm going to get a Glock when I get a handgun, because I've been telling him the best gun that you have, or the best, the most effective gun you have, is the gun you have on you. And so he doesn't have a handgun. I'm trying to encourage him to carry every day whatever handgun he would like. And just to be clear, he told his uncle this because I told him I carry Glocks. And there's a reason I carry Glocks, because I've had the Gucci Glocks, I've run the Zev, I've had issues with it. I've had HK, they're cool, they're great, but for some reason, I just like the Glock. I don't have an explanation for that. I don't feel the need to explain myself. I shoot the Glocks well, the triggers are good. I've never had a malfunction with any of my Glocks that were not ammo or grip related. That was actually, the grip related thing was another friend shooting the gun. It was the Glock 43X MOS, and he just was limp wristing it, and it had a stovepipe. But regardless of that, I have the utmost confidence in my Glocks. And so I said, hey, if you're asking my recommendation, I carry Glocks, but you can buy a pistol from any reputable manufacturer. Being, if you like HK is great. If you like SIG, I know some people feel, you guys know how people feel about SIG with the issues they're having with the alleged issues they're having with their pistols. And you can buy an FN, you can buy HK. CZ is a great company. I'm just like, just buy it from a good company. It's not like I'm saying, again, not being a tactical elitist here, but I've seen and heard things about some cheaper firearms like Rugers. And again, I don't want anyone to blow their load here in the comment section and just go nuts on me, because I'm sure there's guys out there who train with the Ruger pistols. But I personally, the price is so close to a Glock. Again, and I sound like a tactical elitist right now, but personally, I just try to stay away from companies like Ruger, and their bolt action, their rifles are great, but I just haven't seen. Taurus is another example. Reliability is the most important thing to me. So it doesn't matter. And again, if a guy has a Taurus or Ruger and they shoot it and it works with their defensive ammo and it runs reliably with FMJ and they train with it regularly, then forget anything I said anything. I don't have any experience with it. I hate to even mention that because I'm talking about this toxic mentality. But let's go back to Uncle Kyle here. He said, my buddy said to his uncle, I think I'm gonna need a Glock when I get a handgun. And then he said, why Glock? Are you a limp-wristed pansy? Literally, that's just what he said to him. And I said, and he said, I heard they're reliable. And he said, sure are for people who buy them and put them in a lockbox. Okay, so he is doubling down on his hate for Glock, and we'll learn why. So my buddy just sends a laughing emoji. He said HK, SIG, FN, Beretta, Colt, and Walther. Those are the ones he recommended. Again, nothing wrong with those companies. They're all great companies. They make great firearms. And my experience with all those companies, I haven't shot all those pistols, but I've had an HK. I've never owned a SIG, but people love SIG. I've had an FN, never had an issue with FN. And again, never owned a Beretta, Colt, or a Walther, but those are reputable companies, and people love those companies. And obviously, Uncle Kyle here does too. And he said, I do like HKs. And then his uncle replies, Glocks are popular because of movies and police departments flooding the market when they switched to SIGs. So in his uncle's opinion, and he said, I am partial to FNs. So again, this is the tactical elitist mentality, and this is a little bit of a different case with pistols, but it just goes to show how tribal somebody can be and how much they can ingrain their identity into something as simple as a reliable handgun. Glocks are popular because they completely turned the market upside down when they came out. First polymer, striker fire handgun, I think one of the first at least, if not the first. And they have been, annoyingly reliable for decades and decades. That's why Glocks are popular. In the whole comparison, when he said that they flood the market when departments switched to SIG, that's hilarious as well, because I don't know of many places that have department turned in. I know of a couple places here in Texas, like GT distributors, that have, departments will go trade in their old Glocks and then they sell them used. But a regular gun store, I don't really see that happening very often. But I just thought it was hilarious, and I asked him to send me that screenshot because he told me about it, and I thought it was just so funny, and it was just so perfect for the topic of this video. And so, yeah, guys, I just want to encourage you to be the best steward of the Second Amendment that you can be, which means to not be so judgmental, be as helpful as possible. Try to encourage people to go to the range and train with you if you have friends or family, and just don't be the guy who shows up and shit talks somebody else's rifle, or even worse online, because then you're just an anonymous person behind a keyboard. And I know most of my viewers, you guys aren't those guys, but a lot of the time the internet brings out the worst in people, and so that's really not what we need. We really need to be bringing people together and making people feel welcomed so that they can ask questions and let the discussions win. You don't have to love a company to acknowledge that they have a decent product at a decent price. Palmetto State gets tons of hate for whatever reason. People call me a shill for Palmetto State. I have zero relationships with PSA. I'm sponsored by Brownells, which I don't even believe they sell any Palmetto State stuff on Brownells. So there's no connection there whatsoever. I just like PSA because it's a good quality product at a good price. And I haven't owned a PSA product in a long time, but I have my buddy's AR-10 behind me, the M110 clone. And I mean, I loved shooting that thing. It was a phenomenal experience. And we see what they're putting out at SHOT too. So that's just a good example, because people love to shit on PSA. People love to say, hey, and there's also the opposite end of guys saying it's just as good, and they've never actually gone out and shot their stuff. So again, this is just to my PSA, my public service announcement, to just put that BS aside and just get together with a group of friends and go train. That's my dream for the future of this channel, is to maybe do something like the Average Joe's Range Day, maybe Average Bros Range Day in Central Texas, in the Austin area. If we could find a good range that's not too far away, that I can get people together and bring that community together and just have some people to train with, because it's just like going to the gym. It really helps to have somebody to keep you consistent, that holds you accountable. And it's just a lot more fun doing it with people than doing it alone, at least for my personality type. So I'm a people person, and I love when I can have a plan to go with people to the range. And then you can it's more competitive. It's a little bit of a competitive spirit, but not in that shit talking way, in a destructive shit talking way. There's fun shit talk amongst friends. So Yeah, that's going to be it, guys, for today. I just wanted to throw that out there and see what you guys thought about it. Let me know down in the comments what you think. If you guys have been a tactical elitist in the past, or if you've given into those dark thoughts and those thoughts in your head before. I know I have. So I'm trying to be better about it. I'm trying to move through that and not put anybody down. Because at the end of the day, dude, we're all on the same team. We're all on the team freedom. We all just want to be left alone and practice our rights and go to work, have enough money to put food on the table and pay our mortgage, and that's it. You know, what else could you ask for? So with that being said, guys, if you do want to support the channel, there's 4 ways you can do so. The first one is a super thanks. It's like Patreon, but right here on YouTube. It's right below the video. And then you have bro code RDB10 over at brownells.com. Saves you guys 10% off at Brownells. It's unlimited. You can use it as many times as you want. You can share it with your friends. That's 10% off, $150 or more at Brownells, and that's RDB10. Then we have rangedaybro.com for merch. And then lastly, just liking, commenting, and subscribing. Let me know what you guys think. Love you guys. Don't be a tactical elitist. Talk soon.